Welcome to F&I Today. I'm your host, Becky Chernick. I recently sat down with Pete McGinnis, who is the founder of eLens Solution. We'll be discussing the advantages of F&I early intervention and why it will help to sell more cars, reduce the F&I bottleneck, and maximize profits. We'll also address how a soft pull identifies credit criteria earlier in the process and the advantages of scanning customers' driver's license prior to the test drive. Welcome, Pete, to the F&I Today show. It's certainly a pleasure to have you here in the studio with us today.
Thanks for having me, Becky.
My pleasure. So if you would, for our dealers and viewers, let's talk about exactly what is a credit or a soft credit pull.
A soft credit pull is the ability to pull credit report data from a credit repository with very minimal information, such as just a name and a customer's address. So there's no requirement for date of birth or social or anything like that, and there's no impact to the customer's credit score either.
Okay, so what is the difference, and I hear this term a lot, the pre-screening versus pre-qualify?
Yeah, there is a lot of confusion about that in the marketplace, and sometimes those get thrown around interchangeably as if they are one and the same, but they're absolutely specifically different in terms of what you can do with them, what you can't do with them, the type of data information that you would get from those products. So a pre-screen is typically dealer initiated, whereas a pre-qualification is consumer initiated.
So it doesn't require pre-screening, does not actually require the customer signature to be able to obtain a pre-screen? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so in terms of customer's consent.
Yeah, okay.
So from a consent standpoint, pre-screen does not, pre-qual does. So there's different in that regard, but then also there's a lot of differences in the amount of and type of data that you're able to receive as well.
Okay, so some of my dealers have asked me in the past, are they actually getting enough information on a pre-screen to make a credit decision?
Well, I don't think it gives them a definitive decision. It gives them an idea of what they're dealing with, what type of customer. Are they prime, subprime, near prime? You know, are they financeable, things like that. So it kind of gives them a gauge of kind of where to start with that customer. Are you going to have to start, you know, with your best interest rates? Or are you going to have to look at them differently in that regard?
So one of the benefits that I love about your platform program that you offer is this ID scan that actually starts from the dealership and scans this customer's driver's license. Can you tell us a little bit more about how all that works?
Oh, sure. So ID Drive is a software that actually authenticates the customer's ID in terms of all the forensics, you know, about that ID and when it was issued. There may be 20 security features issued particular state on that document. So we identify, first of all, authenticate the document. Then we're able to extract that data, run it against lots of different databases. We're able to then say, well, this is a good license, but the customer doesn't actually live there. They live at this other address. And then we can append cell phone numbers to that and push that into the CRM as a lead. But then we also can do things like OFAC check or MLA check on that up front, and then also offer the consumer pre-qualification, consent to pre-qual, so that we can pull that credit report data on them. So we're taking a lot of authentication, verification, some of the compliance issues, requirements up front, pre-qualing the customer, pulling the credit report, running it all that against lender programs the dealer does business with, so we can determine within 6 seconds of that license scan, get right into, are they on the right car? And how to put together the right deal structure matched to lender programs that the dealer does business with. So in essence, that product is already shaving in 6 seconds, 60 minutes off the sales process.
So basically, that really kind of helps you to dive a little bit deeper to determine customer credit criteria, so that way, you know, we can likely land the customer on the right car from the very beginning, as opposed to, you know, maybe having to flip the customer on another vehicle down the road, down the funnel, if you will, that sales process.
Right, so what we're doing is we're technically bringing, for example, think about lender rate sheets. We're taking that amount of data and that information, we're parsing all out, digitizing that, and bringing it right up to the front of the sales process, and really helping scientifically get to exactly how that customer qualifies versus the traditional method of, you know, educated guesswork. So we're bringing that science earlier in the process, and that's a way to bring finance earlier on in the discussion with the consumer, because it's important to them. They want to know what their real payments are going to be, just along with price and trade-in and things like that.
Well, since you brought it up, I'm going to talk a little bit about this, if you don't mind, the digital retailing aspect of having more information earlier on for the customer to give the customer, some of the self-desking, take some of that heavy lifting off the customer prior to coming into the dealership. Where do you see that going in the near future for our dealers?
Well, I think a lot of it's moving forward. So the price negotiation, the transparency around that is already moving there. I think there's a lot of tools doing a good job of getting closer to estimating trade-in values. Those two things are important. And then the third leg of the stool is really providing that customer real qualifications, payments, terms that match them. Are they truly tier 1 or are they tier 5? Things of that nature. So where we're seeing the issue in digital retailing is that piece of it hasn't moved forward yet.
Okay, so we hear a lot about connecting the dots from the online to in-dealership experience, and to make sure that we're kind of welded together from the beginning of that online experience to this in-dealership. And I can almost see that your platform certainly helps to be able to move that along. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, yes. So that's specifically what we've done this past year. We think that in order for digital retailing to fulfill its promise, there has to be a connection from online to in-store. And there's a lot of disconnects there still today.
Sure, yeah.
So that's some of the things that, a lot of people, including ourselves, are working on to make that transition seamless. So it's really letting the customer start where they want, stop where they want, pick back up when they get to the dealership. So it's not a do-over, start-over process.
Exactly.
And that we bring all of that transparent information. Like I mentioned with the ID Drive, we can say, okay, they were already using this digital retailing tool. And through our APIs, we're supporting those, so they can pass that to us, let us do all the things that we do with that, and just really take a lot of those bottlenecks and disconnects and profit leaks out of the equation, very much up front in that process. Doesn't matter, online or in-store.
I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Now, with your platform, it kind of reduces a lot of the headache, between the customer, desking, and F&I. Will that help to actually speed up that delivery, the overall delivery, from the time the customer is presented the numbers to obviously getting into the F&I office? And the other, if you will, add, with your desking tool, should that actually be coming from the F&I perspective, or is that meant for the desk?
It's really taking those silos, sales desk and F&I, and bringing them together digitally up front in that process.
And giving them the tools to be able to mastermind, if you will, and really put that deal together that makes sense, right? For the customer and for...
Absolutely. So, when we talk about the online to in-store connection, a customer might be looking at something that's presented as, let's say, hey, you can get this car for 60 months, $299, $1,000 down.
Right.
But fine print says on improved credit. Well, that typically doesn't come into play definitively till downstream in the process.
Right.
We're bringing that up front to both consumer and dealer. And our goal is to extend that through APIs to digital retailing solutions and things of that nature.
To help really streamline that whole entire process.
Yeah,
That's
so
really
we're not trying to move everything online, existing process, or replace what's online. We're going from the perspective of where are these pain points for the dealer in that process so they can evolve. We're very conscious about them wanting to protect, their profitability on the individual deal.
Work smarter.
So we're just trying to say, how can we help get you more information up front? So it's just like the consumer needs more information up front, so does the dealer. The dealer needs some transparency from the lending side of the business, from finance, exactly put the right customer, the right car, with the right deal structure, first pencil.
Right. Well, I certainly think that eLens Solutions certainly offers the dealer a fantastic way to be able to merge that experience online, in-dealership experience, however which way, and really help to maximize profits and create a better customer altogether. I really do.
It's our mission.
Well, you're doing a great job, Pete, and thank you so much for being on the show here. So as Pete McGinnis points out, establishing a common ground earlier in the process helps to ensure you've landed the customer on the right vehicle the first time out, and that it likely will meet that customer credit criteria and budget. Customers don't want to spend the entire day trapped in a dealership buying a car. The advantages to landing the customer on the right car the first time out helps to sell more cars, but it also increases product penetration. Customers can afford to buy the additional product offerings if they are not struggling with a payment they can't afford. Well, thank you for joining me on F&I Today. Be sure to come back next week right here on the CBT Automotive Network for a next edition of F&I Today. Also, feel free to contact me regarding my consulting services. My specialty is helping auto dealers achieve high levels of performance and profit by improving internal processes that begin the moment the customer touches down on the dealership website and end with finalizing in-person transactions in F&I. Contact me today to learn more.